welcome back to another episode of JR Takes. As always, Ryan and I coming at you with the latest NFL and Seattle news. And Ryan, we got the Giants coming up on Sunday. A little home game against Danny Dimes and Brian DeBowl. And I'm really liking our chances, especially with the news that Malik Neighbors might not play.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen a lot of the injury report this week.
Well, he had a concussion last week, and even though I think they played on Thursday, you usually miss a game these days in the NFL when you get a concussion. So
right.
I was kind of thinking he'd be a long shot to begin with, but the fact he still hasn't practiced, and it's going to be Friday tomorrow, so that really ups our odds, I think, because he has been probably the best rookie receiver so far this season. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's like the number one fantasy receiver right now for whatever that's worth, and he's getting an insane amount of targets. So most of the volume in this New York Giants passing offense is going towards that player. So if he misses the game, and us being at home after getting kind of embarrassed on defense on Monday, that bodes pretty well for a get-right game, I think, at least as far as our defense is concerned.
And I like our chances going up against Devin Singletary in the run, because Devin Singletary was having a pretty good season up until last week, when the Cowboys, who had one of the worst rushing defenses in the league, shut him down for 20 yards rushing on 13 attempts or something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't great as a Singletary fantasy owner. It's not what I needed.
So
that's the first time I started him was last week, because I was like,
what? I mean, logic dictated that it was going to be a good move because the Cowboys has been terrible at stopping the run. He'd been pretty good, and then he was terrible.
Yeah.
But I don't know, sometimes players go off for a few games and go on a hot streak, and then a team game plans to stop them, and you get stuff like that. So.
Right. Well, also with the injury report, I was noticing that Leonard Williams was limited in today's practice, and along with Julian Love, but it seems like Byron Murphy might be, I'm going to say, a game time decision if he does go down that route, because it seems like we'll probably miss him another week or so.
I think we need him more for a week from today.
The Niner game?
When we play the Niners. So I hope they just don't play Byron Murphy. The Giants, it's not like they have a fantastic offensive line. Nothing like what we played on Monday in Detroit. Detroit is maybe the best line in the league overall, even missing their center. So I think as long as we have Leonard back there, and Boye is probably going to come back, I think we may see the season debut for Jonah. We have a lot more to work with than we did on Monday, if even just a couple of those guys can come back, because it's not like we were just missing 6 starters on Monday night. We were missing 6 of the best players on our team.
Yeah.
So even just 2 of them coming back is impactful.
And we're going up against a much, much worse offense than the Lions.
Worse quarterback.
You pretty much go from the best offense in the league to the worst in the Giants. So I really like our chances, especially with getting a couple of those guys back in the lineup.
And I think Mike McDonald, I listened to his press conference, or not his press conference, his interview, the Mike McDonald show on Monday with Brock and Salk, and he sounded a little kind of ticked off about how the game went on defense whenever it was brought up, which is understandable. I mean, you literally let something that's never happened happen before happen in this game with Jared Goff going 18 for 18. We forced 2 third downs the whole game, so I'm sure he wasn't happy about any of that, and I feel like the focus is going to be getting this defense, more ready for the situation, because even if some guys that are backups are going to play again, they had another week to get ready as opposed to kind of having to jump into this Monday night game we had. So, I really like our odds. I guess if we want to play devil's advocate and just come up with some keys for the Giants, what to be most worried about, I would say Dexter Lawrence on the defensive line when we're on offense. He's one of the best interior D linemen in the league, especially now that Aaron Donald has retired. He's probably top 2, him and Chris Jones. So it's going to be key to stop him. And I think our interior O-line with Laken Tomlinson and Anthony Bradford played a lot better Also, Christian Haynes did get some playing time against the Lions, and I thought played pretty well.
Did you, real quick, did you see who is back on our team this week? Jason Peters.
Oh, yeah, I meant to bring that up. Yeah. 42 years old, I believe. 21st season in the NFL. That's crazy. I remember him signing a huge contract with the Eagles like 14 years ago. And
I guess he's... Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, I remember in like 2010 when he signed that contract, I was like, wow, he's pretty old to be getting a contract that big. And here we are 14 years later.
Well,
he's
also,
still playing.
Wasn't, if I'm correct, Rodgers is the oldest player in the league. Is that...
Was.
And
now
it's Peters?
Yeah, he was in the 04 class, man.
Wow.
So he was drafted when like Phillip Rivers and Ben Roethlisberger were drafted.
That's crazy he still wants to play tackle.
It's crazy that he's even physically capable of doing it.
Yeah.
I mean,
He
like,
looks like a scary man.
yeah, and that's a really old picture. That probably was from like 2012 or 11 or
Right.
something when he was first on the Eagles. But yeah, I mean, he's a Hall of Fame player for sure.
Oh, this is the Seahawks. Oh, they just the same thing.
He didn't age a lot.
They just do a Seahawks fucking jersey on.
Oh yeah, he literally
has an
Eagles.
Eagles cap on.
I didn't notice that.
It's the same thing as
They just photoshopped it.
Yeah, I don't really know what our plan for Peters is, whether he's just going to be like an emergency option since we are, missing Fant for a while, and it doesn't sound like Abraham Lucas is coming back anytime soon. Because I actually think Stone Forsythe has played pretty good in relief.
I agree.
He didn't give up a sack on the top sack getter in the league, Aiden Hutchinson, last week. So is he a Pro Bowl talent? No, but he's doing his job.
I always kind of thought Stone Forsythe had the size and tools to be like a starter in the league, at least. Like maybe not a great starter, but a guy that can pass off to play that side of the line when we need him to. And it's kind of nice seeing him get this experience under his belt and actually, I don't want to say prove me right, but he's been playing good. And I thought just give him the opportunity and maybe he can make the most of it.
Yeah, I'm very grateful that he is on our team because having a reserve tackle that can come in and, hold down the fort, it's a really valuable thing to have because people get hurt all the time, especially on the offensive line.
Well, and think about that draft class that year. We had D. Eskridge, Stone Forsythe, and Trey Brown. That was it.
That's a rough one.
If you would have told me that day that D. Eskridge was going to do next to nothing and Stone Forsythe was going to be more of a valuable piece to our offense, I would have been like, well, that sucks.
I think he's played the most games out of all three of those guys for the Seahawks. Trey Brown has played quite a few now because he's kind of like the third corner. He gets quite a few snaps in and out of games. But Stone Forsythe played his rookie year in 2021 quite a bit, and we've had to rely on him a couple times the last few seasons. So, yeah. Overall, though, I don't see a tremendous challenge anywhere from this Giants roster, to be honest. Their tight end retired. What was his name? Start with a D.
Oh, Darren Waller.
Darren Waller, yeah. Darren Waller retired. He was kind of their main threat outside of Neighbors. I know that they have Darius Slayton, and they have the speedster. Also can't remember his name.
Wan'Dale Robinson?
No, he's more of their possession guy, and he's getting a lot of targets this year. But the guy that
Jalen Hyatt?
Yeah, Jalen Hyatt. There you go.
Chris knows all about him.
Some Chris specials there. But the fact of the matter is they got Danny Diapers throwing them the ball, and we've played him multiple times now, and in every game where we played Daniel Jones, the Giants have struggled to get even first downs, even get past midfield. And I don't see why this is going to be any different, especially when we're at home. The most memorable touchdown he threw last year when we played him was to Devin Witherspoon on a pick six. So, yeah, I'm sorry. As long as Daniel Jones is the Giants quarterback, I'm going to look forward to any game where we play them because he's one of the worst quarterbacks I think I've watched, to be honest.
I pretty much will hate watching him play football unless it's a Seahawks game.
It just
then
frustrates
I know we
me.
get to play against him.
'Cause it's like, it's one thing to be bad, but like if you're leaving a 45-yard pass short on a free play where it gets intercepted. Did you see that throw against the Cowboys last week? Cowboys jumped off sides. He's got, I think, Darius Slayton like running with like a 8-yard cushion down the right sideline. He just got to lay it out there. He somehow turns that into an interception on a free play. I'm like, dude, if you can't make that throw, you just don't have an NFL arm. And I thought that this guy was supposed to have like, a good arm. But...
He's also like huge.
Yeah.
There's no reason for him to have a weak arm.
Yeah, it's not.
So he's just a giant idiot.
Just been having this up the whole time.
Poor Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, we could be eating our words. Maybe we get checked down 20 for 20 and lose 13-10, like in some abortion of a game. I just don't think that's gonna happen. Gino is playing at like an all-pro level right now. Honestly,
he's leading the league in passing yards.
Yeah,
and he's got a 72% completion percentage.
Yeah, he's throwing at a really high volume and completing at a really high rate, and we've had quite a few drops or just catches that weren't made that were catchable, I think. Mm-hmm. So his on target percentage has got to be like close to 90% through the season, which is awesome. Kenneth Walker's back, and I think everyone in the country saw the impact he has on our offense. And when we're mixing him and Charbonnet on a right balance, I think we got one of the better backfields in the league. I think Detroit may be one of the only teams out there that can say they maybe have a better one. But the things Kenneth Walker can do, like that tackle where he
where he somersaulted.
I've never seen something like that before, and I've watched a lot of football. Like the things he can do are just different.
Well, that's what I was saying last week. Remember how I was saying the Lions have a very similar offense like build to ours. Mm. A couple pieces are different, but mainly the running back duos between us and Detroit, we're like, I feel like we're maybe a year behind them where they're at, where we want to be. But I really like the change of pace between Walker and Zach, because Zach, you definitely saw it in that game. Walker is the explosive home run running back, and Charbonnet is just he's gonna hit singles all day, if you will.
But he's gonna hit them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really hope we make the playoffs this year, and I hope we get a second chance at Detroit when healthy, because I think it's been an exciting matchup the last 4 times we've played them. And I mean, this game was really close. Like it ended up being a 12-point game, but I think we can play with that team, especially on offense.
I also think Detroit, if I'm taking anything from that game, like from both sides, I feel more confident in us than I feel like a Detroit fan should feel in the Lions, because their defense looked fucking horrible.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of did whatever we wanted against them. If it wasn't for some penalties and, some just mistakes like the DK fumble, we were doing just as we put up more yards than them in first downs. It's just we didn't punch it in as many times as Detroit. Also, just to revisit that game one more time, I don't know if you heard this, but the league admitted that the referees made a mistake on the 2-point conversion. Mm-hmm. That Mike McDonald wasn't able to challenge that, so that has to come from like the replay booth, and they were supposed to check that and see that he scored. So, I mean, we wouldn't have won, but we should have had 2 more points objectively. It could have changed everything, and I mean, yeah, there's a few calls in that game I just didn't like, but I don't think we would have won no matter what, just because of what Detroit was doing on offense and how undermanned on defense we were. But it just was annoying. But to get to predictions to this Giants game, because we're getting a little off topic, what do you think the final score is going to be?
Oof, well, let's see. All of our guys on offense are healthy. Our defense is like, some guys are coming back. I'll assume. I'm just going to assume 3 of our starters are going to come back to the D-line. So I'm going to say we sell it to stop the run. We make Daniel Jones beat us. I don't think he can do that. I think we're going to have a couple turnovers this game.
We're due. It's been like 3 weeks since we've
I
had
think
one.
it's going to be a similar game to last year. And I think we're going to probably win 24 to like 6. That's what I'm going to say.
I think we win 34-10, to be honest. I think they're just going to get caught in a buzzsaw. I think this team is, coming off a tough defeat in prime time where, again, on defense they got embarrassed. And there's a lot of guys, especially in the secondary, that play with a ton of pride. Namely a guy named Witherspoon, and I predict he's going to get a pick in this game. And I think it's just going to be a suffocating performance. If Malik Neighbors plays, it will be closer. I'll amend my prediction to like 27-17. But yeah, I think that's the amount of variance he adds to this game for the Giants because he's a superstar.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And if you remember, didn't he have a pick 6 last year against the Giants?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think I think one of our members of the secondary is going to have a pick. I think that's inevitable, especially playing Danny Dimes.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had an interception since Bo Nix, and that was weeks ago now. So I would say the odds are pretty high that we get a turnover or two in this game.
Agreed. You want to kind of go around the league, talk about some stuff we saw. Did you hear about the Tom Brady comments to Baker Mayfield during the broadcast game?
No, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, Colby, are you able to pull that up on YouTube?
Did he talk about how Baker Mayfield is putting up better numbers with the same players?
Actually, it might be literally right there.
Yeah, hold on.
Our guy here said, quote, "They wanted me to come in, be myself, bring the joy back to football for guys who weren't having as much fun." It's funny because you've made this environment for me very stressful up here in the booth, so I understand where he's coming from.
Do you feel it?
No.
Feel the stress? No. Well, I was going to say, I thought stressful was not having Super Bowl rings. So there was a mindset of a champion that I took to work every day. This wasn't daycare. If I wanted to have fun, I was going to go to Disneyland with my kids.
Yeah, so...
Man, for a guy with 7 Super Bowls, that's pretty insecure.
I don't know. I thought it was like... I didn't look at it as being insecure. I thought of it as like Tom Brady has still got his competitive nature in him, even though he's in the booth.
I mean, that's fair. To me, it was kind of a small dick energy comment. But
Sure.
That's to each his own.
You're not the first person to... I mean, the internet was the first opinion I saw, and it was basically what you just said when I saw that video for the first time. But I don't know. I think it's better to have Brady being himself than just being a stiff.
Oh, well, I agree. And I mean, being a competitive psycho, like literally a psychotic individual is why he was the way he was. And you can't take that away from someone just because they're not playing anymore.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine trying to play a game of like poker with Tom Brady? It'd be miserable.
Or or Mario Kart.
Yeah, he'd make it so unfun.
Tom Brady's probably one of those types of people that like stay in second the whole race just so he can get the good items and then fuck you in the end.
For sure. Yeah.
Fuck you, Tom Brady.
Don't worry, I got us covered.
Yeah, what else do we got going on? Jets are playing tonight, and they looked like shit against the Broncos, only putting up 9.
The Jets?
Yeah. Did they
No.
play the Broncos?
Oh yeah, wait.
No,
team
the-
is
Last
playing?
Sunday?
What team's playing tonight? There's a game
I thought you
playing
just
right
said
now.
that. The Jets are playing tonight?
No, they're playing the Vikings tonight.
No, that's Sunday.
That's Sunday?
Tonight is Falcons Saints or Falcons Bucks.
Oh, damn it. I thought that was tonight.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to that one.
Ryan's big idiot moment. Glad you're here.
Well, whatever. They're playing this weekend, and I think that's going to be a really good matchup because the Vikings are looking like unstoppable right now, and the Jets are sort of in desperation mode already here in Week 5.
Yeah, it's not looking good for the Jets, especially losing to Bone Ix at home. It was an ugly game, and I keep hearing these rumors about Devontae Adams potentially wanting to go to either New Orleans or the New York Jets. And I heard a take by my man Colin Cowherd today, and it made a lot of sense. The Jets should do that. Robert Saleh should go after Devontae Adams, because then all the pressure will be on Aaron Rodgers. Like, he's given basically everything he's wanted in New York. If he doesn't deliver,
then he's cooked.
Basically. So I don't know. I think it would be kind of exciting if Devontae Adams got out of Vegas. Even if he went to the Saints, that'd be cool, because just having him waste away on the Raiders is just like, does anyone like when a team?
It's like when Randy Moss was on the Raiders. Like,
right.
It's just not doing anyone any good.
Yeah. So I don't know. That'd be kind of cool if the Jets or the Saints shook things up and traded for Adams, but
I'm also looking at Miami as a potential sell target here with the trade deadline
with
coming
Tyreek
up.
Hill.
Yeah, because I mean they're paying him a fortune, and he's only got a couple of years left at the most.
Mm-hmm.
Their season is basically already over. I mean, they've looked since Tua went down. They've looked like the worst team in football. They just made the Titans look good, who have lost every game up until that point.
And they were starting Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
So I mean, they weren't starting him. Will Levis got hurt. But.
Yeah. Also, Will Levis is keeping the hilarious image from each game streak going.
Where he said, I couldn't even see him.
Yeah.
In slow motion. Yeah, and it's so funny how he got hurt because he was trying to be a fucking hero again. And like diving for a first down. Like, that dude has like no football IQ. It's so funny.
Luke Falk, watching like Luke Falk go down.
I forgot about Luke Falk. Wow. That's a throwback.
He was one of the worst, like just like getting hit and falling to the. He would just like.
Yeah, he would like. It looked like he would like make the defender stop, and then he would like slam his head on the ground, like he was throwing a tantrum or something.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting as the season obviously slips away for a few teams in the next couple of weeks here. They're going to be looking to 2025 and beyond. So there's going to be probably some moves, probably some surprising moves. I could see a guy like, Jacksonville is the only team I think in the league right now without a win, and they got some players they could sell. Devin Lloyd, their linebacker, is someone that I've heard rumored to us actually, which would be interesting because, I like what I've seen out of Jerome Baker, Tyrell Dodson. He left some stuff out on the field in the game this last week, so I could go for an upgrade there. I don't think we need to, but if it makes our defense better, I mean, look at what the Ravens had in Patrick Queen and the other guy. I can't remember his name. They traded him for the Bears.
Roquan Smith.
Roquan, yeah. That was a key component of why their defense was so good last year. So if that is a piece that gets us closer to where they were last year, I'm all for it. On offense, I don't really know what we would need because no one's going to sell their guard probably.
Yeah.
And beyond that, like, what would if we got Devontae Adams, would that even really move the needle that much for us? I don't know. Like,
I would hate it if we got Devontae Adams.
Gino's already leading the league
sense.
in passing yards. So how is that? It doesn't.
Yeah, there's no room for him.
It's like adding like a fifth wheel to a Ferrari. It's not gonna change anything, So I don't know. I think it could. Yeah, I think now this would be crazy, but what if we got Kyle Pitts from the Falcons? No.
I just don't. I feel like if Kyle Pitts was good, he'd be good by now.
I agree with you, but I don't know. Sometimes guys just need a change of scenery, and
I think sometimes the word of mouth gets so out of control during draft season that you have people being like, Kyle Pitts is the greatest tight end prospect we've ever fucking seen in our whole goddamn lives. And then he sucks. And it's just like, yeah, that's because everyone was just agreeing with each other.
Yeah. I don't know. It'd be fun. But, I think a piece or two on defense is the only move I would really see us making. Mm-hmm. But we'll see.
Yeah, Ryan, we can totally edit this too if you don't have it ready, but I was thinking it might be fun to do a top 10 power ranking for this episode if you wanted to.
I can do it off the cuff.
You can do it off the cuff?
Yeah.
Okay, because I was kind of doing it as the show was progressing, but I have mine kind of written down if you want to.
You want to start with number 10?
Yes. So, at number 10, I have the Green Bay Packers.
Okay.
And, I mean, I don't know. Would you... Or do you want to? How do you want to do this? Do you want to just
You
go
just
back
give
and
your
forth?
explanation, and then I'll go, and then back and forth.
Or maybe I'll go. Maybe we'll go from one. Maybe we'll go the other direction.
Okay.
One to back. Is that
Sure.
cool? So number 1 in my power rankings, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. Kind of a no-brainer there. They're undefeated. They won the Super Bowl last year. I've seen this story too many times where throughout the year they don't look like the most dominant team, but they still find ways to win. And until they prove me otherwise, I got to keep them in the 1. Number 2 for me is the Vikings. Got Sam Darnold. He's cooking, as I predicted. You know, I'm a big Sam Darnold guy. And their defense just looks legit with Brian Flores being the D coordinator over there. So got to give it to the Vikes for the number 1 NFC team.
Are you going to go through all 10, or?
Do you want me to?
I was thinking we could jump back and forth.
Okay,
so.
yeah. So that's my 1 and my 2. You can go.
So I have those 2 teams in my top 2 as well, but opposite order. I just think right now, this snapshot of the season, the Vikings are playing the best football in the league. Sam Darnold is looking like a changed man. Mm-hmm. Kevin O'Connell has really just coached this offense and this whole team up to a fantastic standard. Their defense is playing probably the best overall in a lot of stats this season. They got Justin Jefferson. Aaron Jones is looking awesome for them. And, they're winning every game. You know, they're playing the best in the league right now, so I think they deserve the number 1 slot. And then number 2, the Chiefs. There are the other undefeated teams, so I think when you have objectively the best record at this point in the season, you deserve to be at the top. But I don't like the Chiefs have played really sloppy through 4 games. And I think early in the season it just matters. The only thing that ever matters is just getting the W. But they have a lot to clean up for sure. And they're far from playing their best football, which is kind of a scary thought considering they have won every game. But I think the Vikings have just looked a little cleaner. And then to segue to number 3, I have the Ravens, actually. I think their performance against the Bills last week was probably the most impressive thing I've seen a team do this season, because the Bills would have been number 1 for me last week, and they got absolutely dismantled. Josh Allen has been playing like an MVP, and he couldn't do much against this Ravens defense. This Ravens offense with Lamar and Derrick Henry, that rushing attack is as hard to stop as any rushing attack I've ever seen. So that's, to me, those are the 3 cream of the crop teams in the NFL.
Yeah,
right now.
I got the Lions at number 3. And honestly, my Lions and Ravens could be flip-flopped either way. I think they're both good at what their strengths are. I am concerned about the Lions' defense. I did consider putting them behind the Ravens, but I don't know. The Ravens just looked a little shaky early on. I guess right now, currently, they look pretty good, but they almost blew the game to the Cowboys, so I'm not going to put them at 3 quite yet. But I do have them sitting at 4, so for
Fair
pretty
enough.
much everything that I just mentioned. Yeah. So who do you got it for? The Lions, I imagine?
Yes.
Okay.
And, I mean, they just put everything on display against us on Monday. That offense is sick. That is a very hard offense to stop, and they have the league leader in sacks on defense and some playmakers in the secondary who get a little handsy, for the record. They drew a lot of penalties, but, I mean, they play tough, and Dan Campbell is an excellent coach, and he's proven that. Then after the Lions, let's see. I already did I talk about the Bills yet?
No.
Yeah. So next would be the Bills for me, rounding out the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen is playing fantastic. They've yet to put it all together in their passing game, I think, but James Cook is playing like one of the better backs in the league right now. And their defense, although they lost a lot of talent, is still solid. You know, they've really stuck it to a lot of good teams so far this year. So Bills would be rounding out my top 5.
Nice. I also have the Bills at 5. that game against the Ravens was a little hiccup. Good teams have bad games. Not really going to put too much on the Bills. I didn't think they would be perfect this year anyway. They lost a couple of big additions to their team last year. So, yeah, I got them sitting at 5. At 6, kind of a surprising team, maybe for some people, but I got the Buccaneers at 6. And
Really?
Baker has been baking, and they kicked the shit out of the Eagles on Sunday. I just think they've got a lot of veterans on that team, in that locker room, to where, I mean, last playoff they made a decent run. They lost to the Lions, kind of ran into just the better team in that matchup. But yeah, I got the Bucs at 6.
I mean, yeah, that's interesting, and it's funny as you say that. I'm getting a fantasy update that Baker just threw a touchdown for me in one of my leagues. So,
oh, wow, nice.
Yeah, that just kind of speaks to how well he's got that offense playing right now, and they got a lot of talent on defense as well. So I could see it. They'll be in my top 10. But for me, number 6 it's still going to be the 49ers. I know that they're 2-2 right now, but this team is still really scary to me. There's a high variance that they could end up having as far as wins and losses this year. But think of it this way. Christian McCaffrey goes down, and they still have the second leading rusher in the league. Like this, it's just really hard to stop this offense, and they still got a lot of good players on defense. Purdy is, I think, playing – he made some really impressive throws in the last game. I forget who they were playing. It might have been the Patriots. Couple of just really nice throws, and they just have a knack for, running all over for you, and then they'll hit some big plays, whether it's downfield or just yak. They're really hard to stop, so I think they're going to be a challenge all the way to the end this year for the Seahawks. Number 7, I'll put the Buccaneers at number 7 in the top 10 as well, for pretty much all the reasons you listed. They're just playing really well right now, and I think comparing them to a team like the Commanders, who are also 3-1, the Commanders' defense doesn't impress me, and the Buccaneers I just think have more talent overall. And
Commanders only gave up 14 to the Cardinals.
I know, but I don't know. I'm not buying
Dan
everything
Quinn,
I'm
he's a
seeing
defensive mind.
in Washington just yet. I think they're a really exciting, fun team. But, Jane Daniels is throwing 80% completion percentage. That is going to regress to the mean quickly here, I think.
Yeah. So at 7, I got the Niners. I didn't want to put them any higher than this just because they've looked they've looked human throughout the first couple weeks. Really, what's going to determine my thoughts on them, I think, is when we play them next week. Just because I feel like I get a good gauge of how good the Niners are when we play them. It's just, if they kick our ass, all right, they're good this year. If we make it close, they're vulnerable. But yeah, I think Brock Purdy's been playing an awesome season so far. They probably deserve to be a little higher, but you know what? I just didn't want to put them any higher than that. So.
That's fair.
Are we on to you now, or am I picking again?
Why don't you go again?
Okay, so yeah, this is kind of a surpriser as well. So I've got the Commanders sitting at 8, and I'm a believer in Jaden Daniels. He's been playing lights out, and they just, I did not see them kicking the Cardinals' ass at all. I did not see that coming. I thought the Cardinals were a good team this year. That's kind of what kind of made me open my eyes for the Commanders, and then also just they beat the Bengals last week. Not only did they beat them, but they
didn't punt.
They didn't. They weren't losing. Well, they were losing 7-0 at one point in that game, but I don't think that they were in any jeopardy to lose that game the entire game, basically.
Yeah, they really controlled that contest.
And yeah, I'm gonna hop on the Commander bandwagon, and I got them sitting at 8.
Fair enough. Next for me, I would put the Houston Texans. I know they had a pretty tough game against the Vikings and lost, but in every other game, they've looked fantastic. C.J. Stroud is super accurate. They have the best receiver in the league right now in Nico Collins as far as just how everyone's playing. Maybe he's not the best receiver, but he's playing the best right now objectively. And their defense is just really well coached from D'Amico Ryan. So I like that Texan team a lot. I could see them doing some things this year, and I believe that's number 8 for me. Number 9, I'm going to put us, Seahawks. I think we have, honestly, I feel better about this team after losing to the Lions than I did after beating the Patriots because I think our defense has already shown when healthy we can be an elite unit, but our offense showed that we can play with anybody. I mean, you throw for almost 400 yards, rush for over 100 yards against a good defense like the Lions, like that's pretty impressive, and it shows that we can win. Again, even though we didn't win, we can hang in any sort of contest. So I think the Seahawks, not a team I really feel is going to have a great chance to compete for the Super Bowl this year, but I think we'll be a playoff team, and I think we'll be a top 10 team when it's all said and done.
Yeah, so I also have them at 9. I just, like you just said about the game against Detroit, I took more good from bad coming out of that game. I just, and it's mainly the way the offense played. Like each game, my confidence in Geno just keeps the stock keeps rising in the way Geno's been playing. And I didn't feel that way last year or the year before. I thought Geno had a good first year 2 years ago for us. But he's looking like, I mean, if you are doing the things Geno's doing for 3 years, you're just a good quarterback at that point.
Yeah, the sample size is big enough at this point.
Yeah, and so I'm a believer that Geno can take us places. I'm just going to need to see that game against the Niners first because that's been his kryptonite. He has not been able to really have that good of a game like ever against the Niners. So I'm looking forward to that game. I think that game will be a big determination.
I think it's a really big measuring stick for the season in general because that is, they've been our kryptonite for this will be the 3rd season of it if it continues. We haven't beat them since Russell Wilson was our quarterback. So there you go. And they're kind of our immediate competition to being a contender because if we can't win the division, like wild card teams almost never win a Super Bowl. Like it's happened a handful of times. So yeah, I think that is the measuring stick for what we're going to do. To finish out my top 10, I will throw the Commanders in there as number 10. Again, they have some weaknesses on defense for sure, but this offense has like been unstoppable for a few weeks here.
I think they're last year's Texans.
That's a good comparison. You got a rookie quarterback that. Well, actually, C.J. Stroud was, I think, only 21 his rookie year. Jaden Daniels is more like 23 or 24, a little older. But I think that's part of why he's playing so well right now is he had years in college to develop his game. And it's crazy if you go back to – because I think he played college football in, like, 2019. Like, he played for a really long time. And the progress he made year to year was like so consistent. So it's been really impressive. Dan Quinn, got to root for him as a guy that brought us our only Super Bowl as the defensive coordinator. So yeah, they're probably the biggest surprise outside of the Vikings to me this year. The Commanders. And
rounding out 10 for me, I got the Packers. The fact that they won 2 games with Malik Willis, one of them being against the team that drafted him, is insane to me. The fact that Matt LaFleur was able to get 2 wins with Malik is crazy. And then
he looked good. It was so weird.
And Jordan Love, I mean, I know they made it close in the end against the Vikings, but
he's too many picks.
Yeah, the Packers, I kind of like us. I'm not worried about them, even though they lost that game. Jordan Love was coming off an injury. They kind of remind me a lot of us because they have a really young offense, and I guess they're like the offensive version to what our defense is. I feel like we got a lot of young pieces on defense. They got a lot of young pieces on offense. So I think the Packers are a fun team to watch. And yeah, that
NFC North is going to be brutal this year because the
3 NFC Norths in the top 10 for me.
Yeah. The Packers just missed my cut, but yeah, the Vikings and the Lions it's going to be wild to see who comes out on top. Right now, you'd probably pick the Vikings, but I don't know. The Vikings and Lions haven't played each other yet, have they?
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who I would take in that right now.
I think I would take the Vikings, dude, because the Lions can't stop anything. And you think Terrion Arnold is going to be able to stop Justin Jefferson? No, he's probably going to tackle him to the ground and then look at the Jumbotron and be like, yeah, watch. You'll watch yourself tackle that guy. Good job.
Yeah, it'll be a fun matchup when it comes for sure. But
Yeah,
we're going a little long here. I think that's about all I had. We'll have to
likewise.
keep doing that top 10 list as we go throughout the season.
Yeah, we'll do it week to week. We'll kind of have it be our rounding out the episode.
Cool.
All right, well that's all I got for this one.
Yep. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.
Yes. See you guys next time.